Hello, and thank you for purchasing Enhanced Inject. So when you make the purchase from the Rostami Magic store, you'll receive an email that looks something like this. And in this email, the most important part of it is the link that you see down at the bottom, which is your unique link to your Enhanced Inject account. So all you got to do is just click on that link, and that's going to open up your Enhanced Inject website. Now from here, you'll notice that it says enter your Inject ID. So this is just your current Inject ID, and the way you get your current Inject ID is you're going to launch Inject, which is right over here, and you'll notice that it's basically the last thing that's here in the Google Peek URL. And if you want to see your ID in a more clear way, you can always click on the settings button here in the lower right-hand corner, go to the question mark tab here to the right, and where it says account ID, your account ID basically is right here, and in this case, it's 9777. Okay, so now we go back to the website, and we're just going to type that in. So here we go, 9777. Okay. All right, and now when we say Save Inject ID, you'll notice that it says, attention, you're about to link your serial number with this Inject ID, and you say, yes, I do want to save that. So now this particular URL, which is your account for Enhanced Inject, has now been associated with your account, with your Inject account. So if you currently want just the default settings of Enhanced Inject, the only thing you would have to do at this point is just select that Generate the Code button. But we highly recommend is you select that Customize Settings. But before we do that, a couple of things that you should know. First, not only on this page do you see actually what your real account ID is, you can even see what your hidden Inject ID is as well. And your hidden Inject ID is sometimes a different number from your real Inject ID, so it's kind of nice to know what your real ID is once in a while. Okay, so that's another one of the features of the Enhanced Inject website, is that it does display your hidden Inject ID. Okay, so now let's go ahead and customize your settings. When you turn on Customize Your Settings, you'll notice that there's a variety of different settings for Enhanced Inject. The first one is all of your footer links. So now when we open that up, you can see that here are the buttons that normally appear on your Google page. So the first button is the toggle button over here, which allows you to toggle on and off the dark mode. As we continue, there is a settings button that's down at the bottom, privacy, terms, advertising. So every one of these buttons can be customized. So let's look at what all the different customizations are. So first, for the first button, which has been currently set to the default of toggle, the toggle currently is for toggling the dark mode, which means that just simply by tapping on that footer on the dark mode enabled, it enables the dark mode for Enhanced Inject. But now let's look at a brand new setting that we can set up. And this time we're going to actually associate a function with the settings button that's in your footer. And we do that by tapping on external. That means that we want, when you click on settings, for like an external URL to open. You can see that here there's one of two different options. You can either have this page open in a new tab, which means your fake Google page will still be in another tab, which by the way is very useful if you want to go back at some point to your fake Google page. Or you could choose to have this link replace the Inject that you are in currently. Okay, so now let's say, for example, I would like this link to just simply take us to yahoo.com. Well, here's the easy way you could do that. All I'm going to do now is just switch over to any browser. So here's Safari, right? And in that browser, we're going to just go to yahoo.com. There it is, Yahoo. Okay, and so now you'll notice, of course, that Yahoo is going to open. And at this point, you can just click on the link at the top there and choose copy. Now, this can be for any URL. Just please make sure that the HTTP or the HTTPS is going to be in front of your URLs. So now we will switch back over to Enhanced Inject, which is running in this other tab here in the browser. We come down to external, we have the settings. In the URL, we'll just tap and then click on paste. So now you can see that we just copied the URL from Yahoo, and we pasted it into the settings button, and we're all set there. So that is the functionality for whenever you use external. Now let's look at some of the other things that can be done. You have, of course, none. That means that if there is no function associated with the button, if somebody taps on it, nothing will happen, right? And then finally, when we look at toggle, you'll notice that there's another option over here that says toggle extras. Well, the purpose of toggle extras is that it allows you to turn on or off the extra functions that exist on the Enhanced Google page. And those functions are the magnifying glass that allows you to see several different default search texts, and even the hamburger menu. So by simply toggling that off, all of these extra features that are not normally what a Google page would do would be toggled off. Now, me personally, I would never really use toggle extras just because I don't think any of my spectators are going to randomly click on the magnifying glass or the hamburger menu. But if you are scared about somebody accidentally stumbling on those features at any point in your performance by tapping on, in this particular case, the privacy button at the bottom of the page or at the footer, you can basically turn that off. Okay, so those are all the different functions that you can assign to your own private links. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and close our footer links. The same kind of functionality is on the sidebar links. So the sidebar links are what you access in Inject by accessing the hamburger menu. So let me go ahead and show that to you. So here is my Inject page that I have already set up with Enhanced Inject. And you could see that at the bottom, of course, we have our footer menu, which allows us to set all these custom buttons. And then the hamburger menu is what you see when you click on the three bars, sometimes called a hamburger menu, on the upper left-hand corner. So when you click on that, these are all the buttons that are available there. By the way, the extras toggle by default has been assigned to the extras button right here. So even if you didn't set up the toggle of turning those extras off, it is on here by default, so it's just ready to go. And when you do toggle extras off, the only way of turning it back on again is by you refreshing the page. That means there is actually no way of turning your extras feature back on without revisiting your fake Google page. All right, so let's go back to our Enhanced Inject page now that we've seen where the footer links are and where the sidebar links are. So on the sidebar, you notice that first we have a couple different options. The first option is that for every one of the settings that's in Enhanced Inject, you have this wonderful preview button that shows you actually what your settings are going to look like and how they're going to function so you can actually preview it, right? Then you have, of course, Restore Defaults, which just takes everything back to the way that they were. And then finally, the settings that are here are identical to the settings that you just saw for the footer. Okay, so you can assign either external links or toggles or no function to any of the buttons. I also want you to notice that there is a little delete trash can icon next to each one of these buttons, which means that you can easily get rid of any of these links that you're not interested in. So that's for our sidebar links. And then as we move down to default search text, this is one of my favorite features in Enhanced Inject, and this is where you're going to assign some of the default search text that you would like to have appear on your fake Google page. Now, if for the first item here, you leave that blank, that means that when you first visit your Google page, the default search text will be blank. So let's actually do that for this example. We're going to leave the first one blank. Then I'm going to tap Add New Default Search Text. And for this one, I'm going to use one of my favorite effects that I perform in Inject, which is called the birthday of a celebrity, where I tell my spectators that I have memorized the birthdays of all the famous celebrities in the world. So therefore, that's why I would need to have a default search text of birthday of. Okay, so that's one option. So let's go ahead and add another one. So for this one, let's use another one of my favorites, which is the presentation that I like to do in Inject, where I say that we're going to look up the definition of a word. So there you go. Notice that every time I type something in here, at the end, I put the space bar. Because if there was no space bar at the end, then you would actually, during your performance, you would have to add a space bar, and that would waste a little bit of time. So it's always nice just to be able to put the space in there so you don't have to type it. And then for one last one, let's add in a default search text of what am I thinking of? Okay, for those of you who are familiar with doing Inject performances where you can just type in to the spectator's phone, what am I thinking of? And it will do covert typing for an immediate effect on that spectator's phone. Also, please notice that for the first character of my default search text, I usually take off the caps lock, and that's mainly because in Google, the first letter of what you type into the Google search field is not going to be caps either. So that's a little subtlety. So let's go ahead and type in that last one here for our default search text. I'll just type in, what am I thinking? All right. So now that we have set up all of these different default search texts, we're done. First one being blank, then we got birthday of, defined, what am I thinking, and that's all ready to go. All right. And so those are the settings for default search text. And then last, we have extra settings. Under the extra settings, you're going to notice that we have first a way of customizing the sign-in button. So for whatever reason, if you don't like the words that we have chosen for your language, for the word sign in, you can come into here and customize it to whatever. Same thing applies for trending searches. You can change this to whatever you like. And finally, under the country footer, if you leave it empty, this is for the United States of America. But if you are in any country out of the United States of America, then you can just put in your country name right here. And that's it. Okay, and those are basically all of the settings for the new Enhanced Inject. Once you're done with all of these settings, the last thing that you want to do to actually implement and see your new and shiny Enhanced Inject page is you click on that Save and Generate the Code button. When you do, you'll notice a little bit of a pause while it generates the code for you. And then right below here, it says tap the code below to copy it. So all you do at this point is follow the instructions that are written right here. But you don't have to follow the instructions because I'm telling you exactly what you're going to do. All you're going to do here is you just tap in this field, and you'll notice that it says the code was copied to your clipboard. That means that the Enhanced Inject website is telling you that all the code that's necessary to make it work has now been copied to your iPhone or your Android clipboard. So now we will switch over to Inject. Here's Inject. Okay. We're going to go ahead and do a left swipe on our Google Peak. This is where we can access the settings for our Google Peak. Select Edit. And now when you tap the default search field, this is where all you're going to do now is just a paste. And that's it. You are all set. At this point, you hit the back button and you're ready to perform with the new Enhanced Inject page. And in this case, my Google Peak URL is gg0.us/9777. So let's actually go ahead and examine it and check it out. So let's go back to our browser. We will open a new tab. All right. And here, we'll just put that in. And here we go. Oh, yes. It's so shiny. So basically, if you are already a user of Inject, you know that usually if you are on an iPhone, on a Safari, when you visit this page, one of the first things that you might want to do is tap the little AA button here that's in the upper left-hand corner and choose the Hide Toolbar feature. And this takes that google.com URL, which has got that strange looking L, and it makes it really tiny up across the top or the bottom of the page, right? But then let's take a look at some of the features that are in this new enhanced Google page. First, when you tap the screen, if you look at the upper right-hand corner where the 3x3 dots are, tapping anywhere on the screen activates the no sleep function. That means that on your spectator's phone, their phone will not fall asleep when you just tap anywhere on your fake Google page. And now, because we can see the little dot in the center of that 3x3 get ghosted, we now know that that feature is active. Also, on the camera icon here to the right, if you tap on that, that just activates your new dark mode. So there it is. You can turn it on or off, or if you were to hold your finger down on that button, it will show you actually that for this particular user of Google, what their default dark mode settings are. Okay? So that's what that function is there. Now notice that the search field currently is blank, because you remember that for our default search text, we set the first item to be blank. But now watch what happens when we tap the magnifying glass. There's birthday up, which is our first setting. Here's the second one, which is defined. And the last one, of course, as you remember, says, what am I thinking? Right? And you tap on it again, and it just goes back to the default. And then finally, at the bottom, we have the buttons that normally you would find at the bottom of the Google page. And you remember how we had programmed it so that the settings button takes you to yahoo.com. Watch. You just click on settings, and there it is. We just switched over to yahoo.com, and it's as easy as that. And this is how easy it is to customize any one of these links. And then finally, as we look at some of the other functions that are on your new Enhanced Inject page, dark theme. If you tap on that, by default, this also will trigger on and off the dark mode for your Google page. And then as we saw before, of course, we have the hamburger menu where you can set up any one of these to have custom links to any website. And then finally, let's actually talk about this extras toggle right here. So we already know that by either tapping on this button over here, it toggles on and off the default search text. We know that by tapping the little camera icon, we can turn on and off the dark mode. There's all these features that we have hidden on this Google page. But what if you don't want those features there? As we told you, you can just turn all of those off. And all you do is under extras, you just tap on that button right there, and now all these features are no longer functioning. Watch. If I tap the magnifying glass, nothing happens. It just takes you to the search page. The magnifying glass or even the hamburger menu, notice that the hamburger menu does absolutely nothing. So now, if you were worried about people accidentally stumbling on any of these functions, you can just turn off the meat mode and you'll never have to worry about that again. And the only way of getting all those functions back is by you typing in your inject URL again. So here we go. All right, and now we're back to normal, and we can continue as before. All right, and the last feature to discuss is the exciting autofill feature. And for this one, it's as simple as either enabling it or disabling it. If you disable it, of course, the invisible button that's above the gray bar that's at the bottom of your Google page will not function. But if you enable it, it will. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how exactly the autofill feature works. So now we're going to go ahead and click on the Save and Generate the Code button. So now we wait just a little bit while it generates the code. So now we click into the area that's down below over here. So it copied that code to the clipboard. So now we can switch over to Inject, which is right over here. I do a left swipe on Google Peek. I choose Edit. And I could see that from a previous attempt, I have already pasted some code in there. So here's a very important note to remember. Every time you make a change to your enhanced Google page, you must copy the code and paste it back into your default search text. So you'll notice that when you click or tap into that field, what I highly recommend is you hit the backspace button a few times just so that your cursor starts deleting some of the text, which is very, very long because it's a lot of code that's been pasted into that default search text. But now, just by tapping into this field, brings up the Select All option. So now you can do Select All. You can do a backspace, which is going to delete all of it. Or when you have everything selected, you could have just simply selected paste. So now I can go back over here and click or tap and choose paste. And so now that's it. So now we just replaced the old version of Enhanced Inject with a new version of Enhanced Inject, and we just hit the back button and we're ready to go. Okay, so now that we are on our Google page, the way you will access your autofill functionality is right above the gray bar that's at the bottom of the page. So you're gonna just tap right above that gray bar and then choose autofill contact. When you choose that button here in Safari, a variety of options will appear, but you wanna use the customize option. Here, you will see the name of your spectator as well as their birthday. And if you're in a rush, all you're going to do now is just tap the autofill and it will send their birthday information as a push notification here to Inject. So it's showing the birthday of your spectator as well as their astrological sign. And of course, their age appears here as well. And that is super cool. And it's a great way for you to be able to get a notification for this information from your spectator. And these are all of the settings that are for your new Enhanced Inject page. And I hope you enjoy using it. But we have a lot of great surprises waiting in store for you. Even though you've invested in just this version of Enhanced Inject, Guy Delfrat and I have a lot of wonderful surprises that we're going to be introducing later on that for all of our customers of Enhanced Inject, you will get free of charge. Thank you very much for your support, and we will see you very soon.